Football Manager is all about building a team packed full of wonder kids, right?
It's false. No way. Not this time.
That's right, Jonathan Frakes, it is a common misconception. You see, whilst building a squad of wonder kids is great for future-proofing your club financially, it doesn't always translate to player development, and, frankly, it doesn't always guarantee results on the pitch. You see, a player will only ever reach their potential ability if they're getting game time. So having 5-star potential and 2-star current ability in spades can often be less of a blessing and more of a curse in FM23. And one thing I've learnt the hard way is that squad depth is everything when it comes to pushing for multiple trophies in this game. So that leads me nicely onto today's topic. Who are the dependable squad players you should be looking to pick up that will complement your tactic, help mentor your wonder kids, and deliver in the big matches as well as the small? Let's dive into my Dependable 11 in FM23. So I'm going to talk through not necessarily the best players on the game, although I will give a shout out to one or two who I believe ticks that box, but rather than who I think are great value for money, easy to manage and consistent performers on the pitch, all based upon my shamefully long experience in this game. We'll start with someone who I've talked about before in this video, and that is this wing forward, Manny Vallejo. He's a snip at around £4 to £7 million in Season 1 in this game, and will give you 6 or 7 good seasons as a versatile wing forward, or even a pressing forward if you need him there. We've gone into detail in that video as to why we believe he's such a good performer, and what drives player performance in Football Manager games more generally. And we put a link to that video in the description so you can check it out later. We'll move swiftly on though to centre forwards, and there are two that ought not to be looked over when you're playing at a fairly elite level in this game. They won't break the bank, but will cost upwards of around £20 million in Season 1, and in honestly I could hardly split them. To begin, it's Giovanni Simeone, who starts the game at Napoli and is on the market for around £15 million in Season 1, but unlikely to join you until at least January. A very similar prospect though exists in Santiago Jimenez, who starts out in Feyenoord, and at just 21 years old, he's a worthy investment at around £21 million if your club can muster it. These two were electric advanced forwards in my time managing Feyenoord this year, and both went on to win Golden Boot in the Eredivisie in separate seasons. I expect Jimenez especially will get a huge boost to his attributes in FM24, as he's had a phenomenal season for De Trots van Zuid in real life, and recently fired Mexico to victory in the final of the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Next, let's talk midfielders. Now, if you're a subscriber to our channel, you'll know that what I've loved most about midfielders in FM23 is basically anyone who has this player trait, because it unlocks so many defences and is deadly when combined with a decent pacey forward. But if I'm to name but a few who've been solid as a rock for me in the middle, I would include Salvatore Esposito, who is admittedly a borderline wonder kid as he's very young at the start of the game and needs a few years to really come good. But he's a sniff at under £1 million at the start of the game, and a dependable backup deep-lying playmaker or DM for your team. Orkan Kokcu is next, who is very likely to be more expensive than the £30 million you can pick him up for in Season 1 of FM23 when FM24 is released. As in real life, he's captained Feyenoord to their first title success since 2017 and moved to Benfica for the same amount very recently. He's one of the most consistent free kick takers on the game. He's also incredible at long range shots and a tremendous young leader that would make nearly every team better in my humble opinion. Another shout out I'd like to make from midfield is Marco van den Boomen, who we managed to pick up on a free during the first January window in our Valencia save, and who is packed with playmaking potential. So when you get to December 30th, 2022, make sure you look out for Van den Boomen in the free contracts. Next, let's talk goalkeepers, and whilst we're on the topic of free transfers, we picked up Alban Lafont on a free in our second season with Valencia, and that means you should keep eyes on contracts expiring in 2024, because Lafont is the best sensibly attainable goalkeeper in FM23. That's not to say he's the best in the world, but behind the unrealistic acquisitions of Donnarumma, Oblak or Courtois, he must be considered as a top option. Lafont won us the Europa League with Valencia and produced far fewer mistakes than so many others that we have trialled and tribulated in this game. Another honourable mention here is Inaki Peña, who starts as a backup at Barcelona and whose contract expires at the end of the first few seasons as well. So, someone you should be able to acquire on a free transfer who holds plenty of potential, so long as your club has got a reasonable amount of pulling power. so do look out for Pena. Let's complete the attacking lineup next, and at right wing forward we've got another few options for your consideration. First up, it's Hugo Duro, who is technically a striker at Valencia at the start of the game, but he can be retrained as an inverted winger or inside forward on the right very easily. He's got a £27 million release clause, so he's quite a pricey one in this list. But in his peak, he can finish like the best of them. In his best season, he registered 23 goal contributions in 33 matches for me, and he consistently delivered a 7+ rating. If that's too much of a stretch financially though, and you are looking to bolster that right wing forward position, then I'd implore you consider Nicholas Kuhn, who is by far the lowest potential ability player on this list. However, he never did me wrong, and carries all the right attributes for a decent wing forward. His decisions and concentration levels are his weakness, but for around £6 million you'll have yourself a squad player who possesses great pace and dribbling with reasonable finishing too. As for defenders then, I'll do what I usually do on FM Immortal and split wing backs and centre backs up and start with the wing backs. So the first up is Taylan Bullet, and he is another borderline wonder kid, but a steady Eddie when it comes to balancing the defensive and attacking attributes well. He's 16 when the game starts, but we acquired him very early, played him as a hot prospect and enjoyed 6 or 7 seasons of him contributing decent stats going forwards and remarkably never being sent off. At less than £1 million again, he is a no-brainer, so make sure you bolster your squad with this guy. Over on the left, if you can't afford the best left back on the game, Federico Di Marco, and you can't pry away the best captain on the game and most loyal player in FM history, Jose Gaya, might I suggest you do what Atletico Madrid have just done and snap up Vigo's Javi Galán. If your club has the pulling power, he should be on the market for around £20 million, but he is also a release clause of £28 million, and I'm honestly going to say he's worth it. He's a fantastic attacking wing-back with great defensive prowess to boot, and just such a dependable guy. Last but not least then, let's cover off the trickiest position to get right, and that is the centre back. And for me, there have only been a handful of central defenders who've not thoroughly pissed me off with costly mistakes in FM23, so to feature on this list is quite an honour. First up, Mattia Vitti starts at Nice at the age of 20 and has the highest potential ability of the lot when it comes to this list, but also has the price tag to show for it. At around £40 million, he'll bring you years of dependable performances, but won't be necessarily acquirable to most of you, I will admit. Instead then, take to Matteo Gabbia, another Italian who starts at AC Milan and is quite far down their pecking order in the first season. So strike whilst that iron is hot and try and pry him away for around £13 million if you can. He's a great ball playing defender, but also has just about the right amount of strength and heading potential to be a dependable performer. One other honourable mention though here is the defender who scored by quite some way the most goals for me from centre back position, and that is Umer Solé. He starts at Salzburg and is priced in between Gabbia and Vitti at around £22 million. But trust me when I say that this is the position you don't want to skimp on. There's so much to pay close attention to when it comes to centre-backs, such as their most important attributes, their player traits, and even their preferred foot. Be sure to check out our channel for so many more tips videos explaining all of this and more. One last shout out before we go though, and that is to FMinside.net, whose player database we have raided for starting prices of most of the players we've talked about today. So with that, we've picked our favourite non-new gen players to manage in Football Manager 2023. And that brings us to a close as I present to you the Dependables. Who have you signed in FM this year that has been your Mr. Consistent? As always, we'd love to hear about it down in the comments, and if you've enjoyed this video, why not drop us a like? That'll wrap it for today though, my friends, so until next time, adios.